Hello! It's been a while, but I just wanted to show you guys what I'm working on currently. I'm making these granny star squares, or granny squares with stars in them. I have ones with the centers, just 3 of them, and then the normal ones. I actually started making them in black, and then I realized this was a great opportunity to use up some of my scrap yarn. And I actually watched a video by, I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Ekoshin. She did this really cute design with the moon granny squares and this green yarn, and I was like, I have a pretty similar green yarn, so I also making some granny squares. I'm just gonna attach them like in a checkerboard. I'm going to add like chevron pattern for some of the panels. The yarn I'm using is just some scrap yarn. I amass a lot of scrap yarn. It's white. This is actually the Lionsbrand. It's 1 Pound of Love. I've just kind of taken whatever was left and rolled it into a little center pull ball of yarn. Brown yarn. It's not from my Soot Sprite cardigan like that white is. This is the Michael's CraftSmart Value Yarn, and it's just some brown yarn. I don't have the label with me. And then I have another skein of this that's partially used, and this is also a center pull ball of yarn. I have a leftover Caron 1 pound yarn in this green color. I had the Caron yarn left over, so I was going to do a cable knit cardigan. I just hated the way the back panel turned out. It was all done, and then I tore it apart. You'll actually see a clip of me doing that at some point, and that's the yarn I've been using. I just put it into a center pull. Hopefully that'll be enough to get me through this project. Hello! Okay, so I realized I actually deleted the clip apparently where I showed everybody what the back piece of the cable knit back piece that I took apart for the yarn. I think honestly I shouldn't have unraveled it. Knitting it, it really didn't use as much yarn as crocheting this piece has been using. And thinking back on it, if I had just blocked it, it probably would have looked very nice. What the plan was I did, I think, 10 rows of a 2x2 ribbing, and then I alternated with 2 rows of the pearls in between them for the cables. Pretty simple. I had 142 stitches cast on, and I did, let's see, 96 rows of the actual like cables and everything. If anyone wants to know how I tracked that, what I did was I did a dot for every row, and then in the red would be the 5 rows that I would go in between the twists, and then where you see the silver, which I drew on top, that was the, I think, 9 rows that I did in between fixing these twists. So that's what I did, if anybody wants to know what that looked like. Here is just a quick update of my latest work in progress. It's coming along. I've gotten pretty far. I actually made all of the star granny squares and all of the normal green granny squares, and I've started not slip stitching. I've started just doing single crochets to connect them. There's going to be another panel of this length, and then one that is a 6x3 square length for a sleeve, and then the rest of it's going to be either a wave or a chevron pattern. I haven't really decided. Okay, so I have officially reached the part where I've started the chevron pattern. This took a while. I had to take it out a couple of times because I didn't have the right length or I was just doing it wrong. What I've decided I'm gonna do is the white next and then the brown, and then I'll go back to the green and then the white and then the brown. Alright, this is how far I've gotten in the project tonight. I think I'm gonna stop here, study a bit for my chemistry. I know it's not super far, but it's honestly working up a lot faster than I thought it would. But really random, is anyone else getting kind of like mint chocolate chip ice cream vibes, or maybe even pistachio? I don't know. It kind of, this part looks like if you took a Neapolitan and you put like pistachio instead of the regular strawberry. So I don't know. Alright, so I got my chevron part pretty much the same size as the other panel. So now I'm going to attach the rest of my squares together to make the one sleeve and the other panel, and then I'll start on the chevron for the back and then for the other sleeve. Okay, so I have finished this sleeve and I think it's a pretty good length, because if this is going to be one of the front panels, then this is how big the sleeve's going to be. It looks very chunky right now, but I think once I add the cuff, it'll look alright. So that's what I'm going to do, and then I can kind of figure everything else out. Okay, it's been a while since I did my last update. This is the sleeve. I do think it looks a lot better with the cuff. Then I finished the one panel, and then the other two panels with the granny squares. I did actually have to make 2 more granny squares. I guess I like either lost 2 or miscalculated. Something happened. But this is the part I'm currently working on. It's gonna be another sleeve, and I think I'm gonna have to do something to make this area flat, just because otherwise it won't connect nicely. I think I can get away with just making this top part flat where it's gonna connect with the rest of the body. And then down here, I can leave it like this and just sew it on weird. I don't know. Some of you may wonder, why does that panel over there look like it has evenly spaced stripes? This one, it's like, what the heck's happening? First of all, I only have this much green left. Yeah, not really a lot. And I have to do a back panel. But most importantly, this is all the white I have left, this much, and I'm pretty worried about stretching it, so I'm only putting 1 stripe here, and then I'm just gonna do 2 very small stripes, like just 2 lines of it, in the back, and hopefully that'll be good. I'm really hoping it's gonna work out, because if it doesn't, I don't really have any good white replacements. I have this white, but they're very clearly different colors. And then I did have one other option for white, which was this tiny little skein. But as you can see, they're still slightly different. If worst comes to worst, I might have to use this, but it's just not the same yarn at all. And then the only other white I have is not really white, it's like a cream color, so a little stressed about that. Okay, I just finished up straightening this line here. It's not perfect, but that's fine. It just needs to be more flat so I can attach it to the other pieces of the cardigan without too much struggle, as I would with the wavy bit. The issue is this end. I really do think that I am just gonna have to bite the bullet and use some white yarn to straighten it out. If you can see this brown yarn, it is definitely of a thicker consistency and different texture than this white yarn, so I think that if I made the cuff out of the white, it would be too weird, but I can't just make it out of brown, because the brown on brown, I don't think it would look as nice as the contrast between these colors here. So I'm gonna do the white because that's how the striping's been done. So I'm still gonna stick to my current plan and use all of this on the back panel bit. So over here, I have some yarn for a completely different project. Kudos to you if you can guess it based off of these colors. I have a pattern and everything. But if you look at this yarn, it is of a more comparable, I guess, like texture and thickness to this brown yarn, which is the main point. And so while it's obviously very different from this white yarn, this one's white enough that I think I can feel good about using it for this bottom bit and just evening that out. And I don't need that much of this yarn, honestly, for the project I'm doing. I think I only need like 50 grams or something. I have finished the cuff, so back into the already stuffed Joanne's bag. If I can fit it, this skein shall go. And then it's the closet. So I finished the 2 sleeves finally. This side is the granny square side, obviously, and this side is the chevron side with the weird stripies. Obviously I have to weave in the ends and everything, which will take forever for this one. Not looking forward to that. But I think they're both of comparable size, which is very nice. And the only thing is this white one is a bit stretchier than this one, but I don't think they'll stretch out too much. Like, as you can see, they're essentially the same size, so I think that'll be okay. My initial plan was to have the chevron side match up with the granny square side, and then have the granny square side match up with the chevron side, so that it's sort of like a mix and match situation. But now I'm wondering if I should put the granny square sides together and then the chevron sides together, so it's more of a half and half situation. I'm not done with the other side of the back panel though, so I guess I'll figure that out and then I'll decide how to sew it all together, but we'll see. Okay, it happened. I ran out of the white. So I'm gonna see if I can get away with using this acrylic yarn instead. As you can see, they're slightly different, so I'll see if it's too noticeable, and if it is, I'll take out this row that I started, and I'll just have the one line of white, and that'll have to be good enough. Okay, yeah, I don't think I can leave this in. Like, do you see that? It looks gray. It does not look like it's white at all. I'm just gonna take this row out. Like, down here, that looks fine. This is gray. It's not white enough. It looks so weird. Like, the texture is even different here. So I'm just gonna take the row out. Alright, so it's been decided that it's gonna be a half and half. But the problem with this that I realized was that I had crocheted these together so that they would alternate. So that if I put them together, that one would be on the back and one would be on the other side, so they wouldn't be in contact with each other. But the issue with that is that these two are kind of mirrors of each other, these two panels, so when I put them, one on the back and one on the front, they match up, which means there's no good way to do this checkerboard bit. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take apart one of the panels single crochet, and since I won't need to use different yarn, I can just take the pieces of yarn that I've already cut and used and just rearrange them in a better formation. So I've finished sewing everything together. As you can see, literally all of the ends need to be weaved in and woven in, and I'm not looking forward to it. I am not. But I will do it, and then afterwards I can finally start working on the ribbing. So here's how far I've gotten. I tried it on earlier to show everybody, but I did weave in the ends this time. I'm gonna do the bottom ribbing in a brown color, and then I've decided I'm gonna do the button band with this pink color because it's the same pink color that was used on this granny square here on the sleeves. So that's the plan. By the way, I just want everybody to know that this is how many ends that I had to weave in and cut off. Hi, this is post-editing me. I'm just filming an outro. So I actually finished up the cardigan at my friend's house, and I'll put a picture of it right here. I had her send me one. She really liked it, but I didn't film anything because I was at a friend's house. I tried something a little new with the editing, with like the jump cuts, and I used CapCut instead of Power Director because honestly I think the video quality diminished a little bit, and it's already not awesome because I'm filming on my iPhone, so hopefully this will make it a little bit better. But yeah, I had a lot of fun doing this project, crocheting it in general. The filming part of it's been a lot harder, especially since I always seem to film midway through a project. Like right now, I decided maybe I'm gonna film something about me making my Howells jacket, but I mean, that one's a bit more tricky because I can't really, again, it's a paid pattern, so I can't really say anything about the details, and also, again, tried starting filming it partway through, which was fine with the Soot Sprite cardigan because there was just so much of it I had to do still that I still had plenty of stuff to go over. But this project's going pretty smoothly and quickly. Like, I mean, I already finished both of the front panels. Like, there's not really much to talk about, and I didn't film any of that, so we'll see. But anyways, thanks for sticking around, and I'll see you later.